That was very interesting. I'd like to see your evidence.
The video I am about to show you will be extremely shocking. I had one film producer interested in my story many years ago. I saw him several times and he was very excited with it till I showed him this video. Then he turned white as a ghost and said cameras don't act that way, and I never saw him again. I am going to be showing this video in parts and it has been edited, and then after you have watched it we will go over everything very carefully so you can fully understand why this video can't be. The video is very shaky for good reason. The first reason was that I was very scared and nervous and perhaps even terrified of the situation, but I was able to get through it. The second reason is because my friends probably didn't want the quality to be perfect so that you can come to your own conclusions for yourself. They never intentionally wish to harm humans or force information onto you if you can't accept it. Fortunately, I have an extremely open mind, and even with that it's still hard to accept.
A little while ago, I mentioned that Cicada was my most frustrating board game of the 70s, and in case you're wondering why, it's pretty obvious, isn't it? I always lost. It was like the other person was like looking over on the other side where my flag was. Just saying. Sunday with Double J and Fleetwood Mac on Sirius XM 70s on 7.
7. D7.
The Super Bowl preview tonight, Sunday Night Football on Sirius XM Preview.
Do her style. Through the long, lonely night, she filled my sleep. I softly swaying to that smoky beat. Down on the face.
Was really weird. Couldn't fill that hole.
Wow, that was very unsettling. I am not sure I understood it all and I have 1,000 questions as I am sure our panel has as well. I can clearly understand why the film producer or anyone else who sees it would be nervous about it. Go ahead Donald, I see your hand is raised first.
I saw where you pulled over for the first time, but what you tried to film was all very shaky. I thought I saw the sky, a telephone pole with maybe wires and a glimpse of a person walking, but it was all very shaky. Can we see this at a much clearer view without the shakiness? Yes, you can with permission from Catherine. I would like to go through this frame by frame in Adobe. The man in the red coat that you are about to see you won't be able to accept, and also he is wearing a red Parker coat but not the same one that I saw. I also don't pretend to be a professional photographer, however I can at least hold a camera somewhat steady and I know I was aiming the camera directly at him. I couldn't have been that bad. Also, even though a couple of 100 yards away I had a direct view. I will be slowing this down in Adobe for you. Adobe is a great tool for this. I can take a frame at a time, but I can do it quickly or slowly or even pause it. So if you see something that I haven't, feel free to make a comment if you wish. I would like them to ask questions out of turn and without permission so we can speed things up if that is okay with you, Catherine.
We can try it that way, but I highly doubt that our audience is a civilized one. However, we can try it though, and if it gets out of hand I will have to interrupt.
Thank you, Catherine. I am sure they will be considerate with this. I am going to walk you through Donald's question now. I would like to take quickly a frame at a time and then you can ask questions and we can look at the video again if need be. As you can see, it's very shaky and I didn't get a clean view of the man in the red coat. Or did I? You will only see him for a second or two in normal motion. The way I set this up was in the beginning of the trip. I mounted the camera with tape onto the dashboard. I pulled over and took the camera off the dashboard and pointed directly at the target. I thought I was videotaping a man in a red Parker winter coat and he was all bundled up. It was all the way down to his knees. To me there was no mistaking that. I was totally surprised when it wasn't very accurate that I didn't see what I thought. Go ahead JB, what did you think of it? Were you able to see what I saw? I think so. I did see the person you mentioned walking and I saw the red coat, but I am confused. I thought I saw something missing from it. I saw the same thing, even thought it was blurry. I thought I saw no head on this guy and the coat was short and not long. I thought I saw the same thing, but I believe I saw something else, but it was very odd, I couldn't be sure. Can we go through it again? Yes, we can. You are right, the person was headless, there is actually nothing there. However, what I thought was even more impressive than a missing head was that in one frame, he was standing at attention with his arms to his side and legs straight up. The only way you can do that is on purpose. Because of that, he had to have known that I was filming him and he was showing off, letting me know. It was all very strange. Were you able to see what I saw?
Yes, I do. It's very disturbing. You can see the entire body even though blurred, but there is no head. You can see the background in this picture, the shoulder he is walking on, stones and pebbles, the road, and even the background. But there is no head.
I see that too. That is very simple, they don't want me to identify him. You are all correct, there is no head there. In Adobe you can always clarify each item, and when we tried to check there was nothing there. Now with no objections, I like to show the soldier boy standing at attention. You can clearly see that he is aware of me and standing at attention. You can clearly see his legs straight and his arms at his side. I believe you can also see that he is wearing mittens or gloves. If you don't see them now, you will see them later. Do you guys see this, and what do you think of this? Wow, that's really bizarre and strange. I don't have any explanation for that at all. Albert speaks for me as well. You must have been terrified when you first saw it. I see the guy at attention, but I don't see the missing head. You're not supposed to see a head, that is the whole point. Tell me if you see a head there. Can you describe it for me? I see your point. I guess I am just a little nervous, and you're right, there is no head at all.
I too am impressed and understand Donald's confusion. However, it is all very interesting. Please continue.
Now I would like to move on to some of the most interesting points. At the end of the video, this person just seems to vanish into nowhere. I will explain that later.
Do her style. Through the long, lonely night, she filled my sleep. I softly swaying to that smoky beat. Down on the
Wow, you are right, David. I know a little bit about photography and how cameras work, and that is something very strange.
I agree, you stated that you tried several times and each time it came out like that. That's truly amazing and hard to believe. That would mean to me that whoever signaled you can alter video at will and can or control your thoughts. That must have been pretty terrifying experience. Yes, you could say that it did terrify me, especially after the third time I just threw my camera down on the seat and got out of there as fast as I could. With the first attempt I suspected nothing unusual and thought it could have been the camera, but then the second attempt scared me to death at that time, and then third attempt I said, this is too crazy, I am not going to get what I want from this now. What do you mean scared you to death at that time? This would be the first time I was scared that much, but now I am immune to it because these things happen to me now almost on a daily basis. Yes, Donald, you have a question for me? Yes, I do. I saw a couple of signs there I couldn't make out. What do they say exactly? And I thought I saw some kind of wall 2 or 3 feet high. Yes, I'll show the sign again that you mentioned. Here it is. On the sign it says, if you are reading this, you are already on camera and you are in violation of code 10,752 and you are trespassing. You can see several 3-foot-high cement blocks, and then going all the way around the property is a 3-foot-high wall of stones and pebbles of different sizes. Now I would like to discuss our friend in the red coat again and why he is so special. I would like to show him from where I first filmed to where he left the property. At this point to the end of the street is about 300 to 400 yards. You can see how he is walking very slowly in stride, almost as if he is aware of me filming him. I believe the video is of poor quality and shaky is because of my alien friends. You can tell that I am pointing directly at him and perfectly centered. There should be no reason it is shaking like that. You now see him taking a right-hand turn. What I would like to explain now is that it took him a good 4 to 5 minutes to travel the 300 to 400 yards, which is normal. It took me about 7 or 8 minutes of filming the hole that I saw you and then get out to the street. When I prayed to my friends that I just wanted to get in and out without contact, that I didn't want any trouble, why did the video show me going north into where my friend in the red coat would be when I knew I traveled south? I would like to show the end of the video now. It clearly shows me turning south but then making a U-turn and going back north. The man was nowhere to be found on the video, even with poor quality. My problem with this is he had no place to go. He couldn't have gotten to the end of the street and I would have been able to see him if I did go north. In my opinion, he just vanished or disappeared out of sight like magic if he was really there to begin with. We can discuss that later. What I want to show you now is why we believe he is not human. When you look at this video, even though very shaky, you can see every stride that he makes. I would like to show a close-up picture of him and in this picture show you why it's very strange indeed. To me this picture doesn't make any sense at all. The first thing I noticed is his stride doesn't match his body at all. Then if you look closely you can see a hat on. Also if you look very closely in his hand he is holding some kind of walking stick. It also looks like he is looking at me. I will show everything that I am seeing now. Now I want to show you what I saw later in a couple of frames. This picture is much clearer. You will not see this person when showing the video at full speed, which I will show you later. This is an excellent although slightly blurry picture of him and you can clearly see every detail that I am going to show you. To me he can't be human. First look at the stride he is making. I don't believe a human can walk like that. It appears to me that his back leg is way out of proportion to his body. His thigh to his knee is very short while his knee down to his toes is much longer. His toes are also pointing straight down with his foot being up and down in an odd angle. I tried to do this and it's just too impossible and too painful to do it. I also believe that the stride from toe to toe is completely off balance and doesn't look right at all. Then if you move towards his waist area, the center of his pants is halfway down his thigh when a normal human isn't even half that. Then moving upwards his arms are at his sides again. Moving upwards towards his head once again you see nothing, but this time there is a black square where his head should be. The most interesting thing to me is now he is wearing a white baseball cap. I can't show you this now, but if you enlarge the hat enough you will find the number 726 not in that order, and that happens to be my password that I use on the internet and my favorite number. Now this next picture is very interesting because in full stride you will not see this. You can clearly see that now instead of looking at the camera he is now facing north. He also seems to be holding up his left hand and waving at me. The most unusual thing about this is he now has a red hood on. In my reports I stated and described him as wearing a full red Parker coat with a hood and down to his knees. The red hood now supports my claim. Now I would like to run the video again and you will see that neither of these pictures will appear with him walking. The technology to do subtle cuts this accurate can't be done. There would be some signs of it even when using Adobe. However, when we checked the video we couldn't understand how this was done. You will also see this man making a right and turn and walking north. When I came out I know I drove south because I was fearful of running into him again. Like I said before, he had no place to go in such a short time. To me this video is impossible once you understand the principles involved with it and you break it down in sections.
That was very interesting and very clearly stated. I am sure that we all have 1,000 questions with those pictures, but I am still waiting to hear why you think you are Cicada.
So am I. Me too, that's one of the things I am most interested in. I can't wait for that and I don't have any questions at this time either.
I see we are all in agreement here for once. You claim that the Arcturians are a peaceful race and are telepathic and are probably teaching you how to release your spirit. I am eager to learn how you have discovered this.
Yes, my friends are telepathic and they can control one's minds in a blink of an eye. They are teaching me how to control my spirit. They can also travel forwards and backwards in time. They can do things that we can only imagine about, but everything in Star Trek I believe is true and much more. In the beginning they were testing me and my endurance, tossing me around at will. I finally couldn't handle it any longer, so I started videotaping my sessions. I thought if it was my imagination that would put an end to it. However, the more I tried to find the answers, the more questions I got, and that is even happening to this day. I will be discussing what I found, but I know you guys are interested in finding out why I believe I am the founder of Cicada. That is a long story and I will start off with when I bought my Tesla. It all began with my Tesla and I was very fortunate to have gotten it at the price I did. It took every penny I had and then some, but I was able to do it on my own. When we first began to suspect something was wrong was with my website on my comment page. I was getting some very unusual comments. People talking back and forth about drugs and other statements. When I traced them back, it started the day I bought the car. The head person was the screen name Aaron Adosity. Here are some of his comments.
Yes, I do, and you are right, it is very unusual. I've never seen anything like that before either, and I have had some websites before as well, so I am experienced with this. I can see why you were suspicious. Very strange indeed. JB, what do you think so far?
As you know, I ran for governor this last term and won. I couldn't have done it without the internet, and I too have many websites, if not hundreds of them. I don't control my websites, but I have seen the comment pages for obvious reason, and I've never seen anything like this before either. I've seen similar items but nothing on this magnitude. What I am sure about is that Aaron is indeed the head guy here. I agree with Donald, and I am familiar of course with these drugs and have no idea why they would be discussing this in this manner and on your comment page. Like I've stated before, I believe this to be a code of some kind, since it basically started the same day I bought the car. My computer friend discovered or thought he has seen this in the past, and he thought it was a Cicada code, something I was never aware of. I didn't even understand what Cicada was at that time. When my computer friend decided to test it to see if he was right, he copy and pasted some of the statements to the Cicada website, which he was scared to find out it was still operating when he thought it was shut down many years ago. For some reason this bothered him. What we found was that the dates matched the information. When I copy and pasted the dates and statements, there would be a connection to it. I decided to put it to the test. I have no idea what to do personally, however, since I control the world with money, I would pay my associates to set a trap for them. I agree with JB, however I know you are doing this on your own, and you must have been surprised that your friend told you about Cicada. Yes, I did, and I started wondering who my friend is. However, this was the test that I did. My mother at the time was selling her house and it was completely empty at the time. So before I made this announcement, since I thought they had my car or phone tapped and probably my computer as well, I scanned the house very carefully for listening devices. Then I placed a key very carefully in the mailbox in front of the main door. I took pictures of exactly how I placed the key, so if they took it I would have evidence of that, since it's impossible to replace it in exactly the same spot.
Why did you do that? Donald, do you have any idea?
Not at all. If I may join in, I think that was very clever. You wanted it to be easy for them, and no one can put a key back exactly in the right place. However, I have no idea why you would think they would come to your house in the first place. I had those thoughts too. What kind of a trap did you come up with? This was the trap. I felt at the time that this was too big a problem to handle on my own. So one of the things I did was to advertise for help on the internet and in local papers. Then I pretended I got that help, pretending they were scientists and very well-known people. I knew if they were listening in on my conversations with my friend that they would be aware of what I was doing. So this was the conversation I had with my friend in my Tesla. It's now time for us to expand. We now have the greatest minds in the country working for us. We need to get a new base of operations. The best place for it to be is where I lived before. The house will be empty and will be a perfect place for our operations. We can set up shop there. I went back home that same night when I placed the key in the mailbox for the first time. I noticed a car pulled down our side street and turned left instead of right like most people do. There would have been no reason for him to turn left, and that made me very suspicious and actually happy. Before I entered the house, I did notice that the key had been moved ever so slightly. I took a picture of it ever so gently, making sure the mailbox didn't move. I went into the house and searched very carefully. I found nothing till I got upstairs into the computer room or upstairs den. When I scanned one of the ornaments, it came back positive. In one of the places on the bottom of the ornament it had a UT raise reading of almost 1500. The other ornaments, which were 4 others, tested only at 200 UT rays the day before, nothing. This excited me and made me both excited and nervous at the same time. I had no idea what to think about this anymore. I would like to show you the findings of this ornament, and it would shock you as well. The range of the ornament would range from 600 to close to 2000 UT rays, when all the other ornaments were a constant 200 UT rays range at most. Whenever I tested this on other items, the app or device was very consistent. The readings now with the ornament are very consistent in one location at about 1200 UT rays, 6 to 10 times stronger. The device is an excellent detector for picking up or detecting computers, phones or metal objects. Magnets will also make it go wild. However, individual objects are always very consistent. So when I found this out, it bothered me considerably. I understood then that this is no game and I needed to do something fast to see who is involved and how deep the situation is.
We are all eagerly listening to this and want to know what you did next. So please tell us.
This is what I decided to. I knew that people were very interested in my research and my friends, and the technology used in spying on me was highly advanced. I had the feeling that if this was really taking place and if my friends are real, that the closer I get the more I would be watched. If one organization was watching me, I probably had every nation that would be listening to me. I even assumed not only that this was worldwide but universal as well.
What did you do? We are very curious to how creative you would be.
Some of my procedure with this was, when I had my meeting with my computer friend, on the way there I would make suggestions to what I wanted to see that evening. More times than not they complied with my wishes. So I told them I was going to make an important announcement. When I pulled into the parking space that I asked for, I saw a pizza delivery person what appeared to be making a phony delivery. My computer friend came down and saw the same thing. He got in and I said or told him that my alien friends gave me a gift. I told him not only was it on my computer but phone as well, and I pointed out the devices to him. I then told him that the computer on my Tesla, which was a 17-inch computer screen, a very unique computer, that it now has the technology to locate and track all my enemies no matter where they are.
Why did you do that? I am completely puzzled and curious and very confused.
Don't be confused. The fun part of this game is that I realized that the people involved knows more about my friends than I actually know. That my friends are indeed the most powerful people in the universe and the most highly advanced as well. They are being forced into believing whatever I say, no matter what that might be. Whatever I say they have to take very seriously. So I basically said that this computer can not only find my enemies but I can locate and see them no matter where they are. Then I told my friend to activate the 2 apps. Then I told him, do you see what is happening right now? He said yes and stated back to him, do you see the list of addresses that are showing up now? Let's for fun click on this one to see what would happen. I hesitated for a moment and said, wow, look at this, do you see the names and phone numbers? My friend complied and said yes. Now what is happening? It's showing the company the address is at, and it's Starbucks around the corner. This is crazy but wild and interesting. I can see the people inside. There seems to be 5 people inside. They are glowing. I told my friend those are the people we want.
What did you do next?
We raced over there to take a look. My computer friend went inside and came back out a little shaken and uneasy. He told me in a shaky voice that there was absolutely no one inside. That's impossible. There had to be someone there. You can't go into a Starbucks coffee store without at least someone there, not even at midnight. What time was it? The time was 6:50 on a Saturday evening, which you are right, that is impossible. That's crazy, that's not possible. So what did you do next?
Yes, I would also like to know that. Whenever I go into a Starbucks at that time, it's always very busy.
You are right, I didn't believe it myself. We raced around the block and saw 2 gentlemen walking out of Starbucks slowly across the street to the bar. It was very mysterious because it took all of 45 seconds to go around the block and we had a perfect view of the area before we left. It is my belief, and my friends believe, that they went to check it out. That they believed I had that kind of equipment in my car to do that. So I told my friend this is getting out of hand, that they actually believe this. So I did. The next thing was to continue this game. I can take a guess in what you did next. That's right, I made another attempt. I said let's see what happens if we go to this address on the screen, and I stated that address. As soon as we pulled out, a minivan started to follow us. When I was suspicious of it, I made a right hand turn the minivan, then turned left. We were both very suspicious of this. We got to the address that I stated, and when we got there was another pizza delivery person at the house across the street watching the house that I suggested. When I pulled up, he slowly went to his car and stayed there a few minutes. When he left, we followed him a little ways to let him know that we knew.
That was a very interesting story and extremely clever of you to invent a trap like that. So now you believe that this is real, however you still haven't showed us why you think you are Cicada.
I am getting to that, but first I need to explain everything I did before I discovered the final solution. Besides, if I just show you might not be able to accept the evidence.
Okay, please proceed, it is getting very interesting and I am sure the others will agree.
Now this is where it starts getting exciting for the first time. When I saw my friend for the next time, I said I am fed up with this game and I am going to take some serious action. Once again I realized that this is no longer a game. Before I did this, I went to the grocery store. It was a fairly small one called the D&D. I pulled into the parking lot and left my key inside. It was in a safe place so I wouldn't get locked out. I can only guess that you got locked out somehow. I know I have a Tesla as well, and I understand why you would want to leave your key there because I do the same thing. After all, who would want to steal a Tesla? It's too well protected. You're right about that, JB. It's a very secure car. However, that didn't stop my enemies or my friends or who is watching me. This would be the first time of polite intimated force being used. When I was in a panic when I came back to my car to find it locked, I said this is impossible. I went back into the store to call for help. I called my sister and she was going to call AAA for me. They opened my car once before and I at the time didn't have my phone since it was locked in the car, and I also didn't have the app operating yet. When I was heading back to my car, someone came to me and said, I can call Tesla for you. I am glad to help. I've never been in a Tesla before. So he called Tesla. I saw him do it and he showed me his phone while he waiting for them to answer. I was watching him all the time, never taking my eyes off him. I was very suspicious. Then I was heading to my car and all of a sudden the car unlocked and I was very happy. I got in and my next ride was a nice woman I took to O'Hare. I can understand your confusion since I own a Tesla. The only way Tesla can activate the lock and open it is with your name and phone and stating the 19-digit VIN number or whatever. That all takes time and couldn't have been handled in 30 seconds even if they had the number in front of them. That is correct, JB. It was, in my opinion, because of that they set the whole scenario for me and staged the whole thing pretending to want to help. They were showing me that they are watching and wish to be friends.
So what did you do next?
So I told my computer friend as I went to him, I told him that this has gone on far enough. I am going to make demands when I see you. Keep in mind, Catherine, I am making these statements only in my car and on my phone. On occasions when I talked to my friend about this, there would be a phone call interruption along with static, making it impossible to communicate. The demands I made when I saw him was that I wanted complete control of the FBI and in return I would protect them with my friends.
What happened next? I assume you can show us the results as well.
Yes, I can prove that. The very next day I got 90 hits with my website. What was special with these hits is that 45 of them came in at exactly 10:05 first. They all had different IP addresses. Then there was a second group of another 45 hits also exactly at the same time, totaling 90 computers basically at the same time. The 10:05 came in first, then the 5:05, which I will show now. I also believe that no other visits came in during that time till after those two times, and the next visit was like at 8 p.m., which doesn't make sense.
As you can see from these screenshots, 45 to 50 visits from the same computer in New York all hit my website at the same time. The times did not make any sense, with visits coming in before other times when it would have been impossible. There is no way they could have visited my site at 5:03 p.m. and then moments later visited it at 10:03 p.m. The FBI main office is in New York and the IP address listed leads to them as well. Not to mention, the sheer amount of hits from the same computer clearly shows some sort of focused attack. As you can see from the last two entries, these times were impossible and could not have occurred in this world. It was the work of the FBI.
So what I did next was to say, okay, we want to discuss it, please meet us between 9 and 9:15. At exactly 9:15 in our normal meeting place, two gentlemen walked in again. One stopped in front of us and started watching us. I started talking to him and showed him our devices, and it was a very pleasant conversation and he was very interested in what we were doing. That was the first time that anyone came to us. It was the exact time we suggested and where. Then I went home that night, and as I pulled into my driveway or parking space, as I was turning into my parking space while listening to the stereo system, which is extremely nice. Yeah, it's a great stereo system, especially in my car. Morning Joe came on. There are many problems with this, as JB would understand. The first obvious one is how did it switch stations? The next one is that my streaming has been offline for several weeks before this happened. I wasn't supposed to get any music at all because later I found out that my streaming subscription had run out. I thought because of that I wasn't supposed to have gotten anything at all because of that. However, later I found out that I could get news stations. The problems with me having Morning Joe on is, one, I never heard of the program before, and two, for me to have it someone would have had to typed it in manual, which means if I did it I would have had to have known about the program. I live in Illinois, specifically in Chicago. Morning Joe is an East Coast program. The other odd thing is the broadcast came over at 11 p.m. that night. I listened to some of it and had no idea what it was. To my surprise, what I was listening to was the following morning's broadcast. They were talking about Donald Trump's impeachment. I knew that was a bunch of crap. They didn't have a chance in hell to convict me, and as you see, they didn't. Unfortunately, they didn't have my information, or you would have. I believe the reason you weren't convicted of impeachment was because of your power and influence. You probably threatened them in some way or form. However, the way society is, you didn't have to because they were already afraid of you. That is what happens when you control power and money. People will always fear you. You probably enjoy it.
Okay, gentlemen, that is enough. We want a peaceful discussion through all of this. Let's have no more of this childish debate.
Okay, Catherine, I agree. I shouldn't have stepped in like that, and I am sorry. One of the things my friends are teaching me is about how a free society works and how it can be obtained and managed. I lost control there because I hate how the general society is to do and how little they understand themselves. I understand that to discuss those issues and mind as well, we need to learn to get along, and that always takes compromises between two individuals.
That was well put. Please continue.
This happened just after I saw supposedly the two FBI agents. I don't believe in coincidences, and that to me is most certainly not. Things started to settle down and I made one last attempt for a while. When I went to see my computer friend the next time, I said I was going to play or announce a game. Since I realized that this game could be intergalactic and the whole universe could be watching me, I read a statement announcing the new game. Basically what I stated was that whoever did the most deeds would become a full member of our society and a seat with our leaders.